welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to show you how I made this cute little keepsake box by upcycling some cardboard. Here I'm showing you how I just glued the edges. I do have the size on the cardboard pieces that I used. First I found a picture that I liked, and I wanted the cardboard box to fit the picture. I didn't want a lot of excess space, so I wanted something small. So you can adjust the sizes to what you need. This is actually really small compared to what most keepsake boxes are. And if I had a bigger picture, like a 5x7, I would have, made the box bigger. But I'm using hot glue to glue the cardboard pieces together, and then I'm using a little masking tape to kind of hold them in place so that they don't move and they'll stay all nice and straight like they're supposed to. It does help. You don't have to if you don't want to, but it does help. I normally would have torn up a whole lot of small pieces first, and I forgot. And here you can see I can't measure well at all. I actually didn't measure twice. No, yeah, I measured twice and cut once, but it's an easy fix. I just cut off the excess. So I watched a video, and this lady showed how she was making her boxes without any warping. And so I tried her method, and that is what I'm showing you here, because it really did work. If I can remember, I will post her video in the description box. This is just some of that packaging paper that you might get in the mail, when you order something. And I just cut them up into squares that are easily manageable. And I do tape up, well, it's not really tape, I glue. It looks like a little piece of tape, doesn't it? I glue all these squares. I cover the whole box inside and out and make sure I get all the corners, and that just helps really make it sturdy, and it covers the edges of the cardboard. So I was showing you which joint compound that I used. That first one was that pink kind that dries white, and it doesn't work well. Hey, okay, so I finished sanding it, and I just wanted you to hear what it sounds like. I mean, it sounds like wood, and this is just the cardboard, but that coating of plaster, the joint compound, it makes it so sturdy that you can really work with it, and it will last you a long time. One note is try not to wear black when you're sanding, because you will then be white. So as you see, I weigh down the pieces every time to make sure that they stay flat and not warped. And here I am going to give it several layers of gesso just until I don't see that packaging tape anymore, because that brown will show through when I try to paint it with the acrylic. Okay, so I think I have enough layers of gesso on my box, and after every wet application I went ahead and placed my books on it to make sure it all stayed flat. So a wet application was when I glued on the paper to seal the cardboard. After that dried, I would lay the books on top, and then after I applied the gesso and it dried, then I would lay the books on top to keep everything pretty square. Doesn't always line up perfectly because you're working with cardboard, and sometimes maybe I didn't cut exact, but for me it's just the fun of making something with some something I would have thrown out. This is what I'm going to show you, how I apply napkins to the surface, and you do it in a way that has little to no wrinkles in it, and it's really simple. I didn't come up with it, obviously. I'm not that smart. So on these, this probably has 2 layers, so that's not gonna work. Did I already separate them? I don't remember. Yeah, this is like the hardest part of the whole project. There we go. I was just licking my fingers. Okay, this I save because this I use to wrap around, you know, glass bottles or even the cardboard thingies, you know, to get yourself some nice texture. If you wrinkle it up first, then you get a lot more texture. Okay, so what I do, I've already painted. I didn't need to paint this, you know, with another acrylic color. That's going to work just fine, the white gesso behind it. I don't see the cardboard color showing through. So I pick which side I want, and it doesn't really matter. I do want a side that is flat to have the hinges. So this, maybe something like that. Okay, so we're going to move this guy out of the way. And these are just those plastic paper protectors. I'm going to put my napkin, let's do it this way, upside down. And then I'm going to spray it with water. And these bottles, they have a very light mist, so it's not going to tear it up or anything. You want to get enough water so that it's almost floaty on the paper. And then I'm going to just gently stretch it out. So I guess, whoa, look what I did already. Don't be like me. That's because I was using my fingers. The theory is, if you just apply this onto your box and get it wet with the Mod Podge, it's going to crinkle up. So if I get it wet before I apply it, then I'm able to smooth out all the wrinkles and let it dry, and then I can go ahead and apply the Mod Podge. So I'm just ever so slightly, no pressure whatsoever on this brush, and just smoothing out air bubbles and wrinkles, excess water. I wonder if that's going to bug me. No. Okay. Whew. Oh, there's another one. Oh my goodness. This is not a good tutorial, is it? Oh, I don't think that'll be too much of a problem. And there's another one. Okay, I'm going to blame the napkin. How about that? So, I wipe off excess water because you don't want it soaking wet. But if you can see, I've gotten like all the wrinkles out other than where I've torn it up. Let's see if I can get it closer. Whoop! See, there's no wrinkles, I think. Maybe some there. Okay, I don't see any wrinkles. So, okay, that's dry. Then I'm going to layer this over pretty much where I want it. Make sure not to add those torn up pieces. You can still lift it. I did not apply Mod Podge because if you apply the Mod Podge now, you won't be able to lift up and reposition it. It will stick and not be what you want. Okay, got a little bit up there. I'm not going to worry about that. I can always touch that up with a little blue paint. And since this is for me, Something like that is not going to bother me. I'm just making sure it's all smoothed out. Now sometimes it'll stick and sometimes it won't stick. So you just kind of want to get it started by peeling back an edge. And just kind of helping that napkin lay and stick. Stick, 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 stick. There we go. Now I think it's going to stay. And just gently, roll it back. Ta-da! And got some stick here. I wonder if I can put you there to kind of cover that up. Oh, it's wet. And stick it. Now, you see how it sticks to my fingers. So, just ball up some plastic wrap. And for some reason, it doesn't stick to your plastic wrap. Tap. Now, I'm going to let this dry naturally. I'm not going to apply the Mod Podge now because that might be too much liquid and it'll cause it to wrinkle. Plus, this napkin, as you can tell, is very delicate and it might tear just from the, brush going over it. So I'll let this dry and then I'll put my Mod Podge on it to seal it, and then I'll tear off the excess once I know this napkin is not going to tear anymore. Okay? Okay, so I use my little fan to help speed up the drying time, and it is dry. I am not going to chance removing the excess yet, just in case it wants to rip past this line. You could probably, remove some of it if it's aggravating to you. But what I'm going to do next is I have my Mod Podge in that because I don't like sticking the brush all the way down here. But this is Mod Podge. This one's the gloss. I'm not going to use gloss because gloss gets sticky. And when you close the lid, you're not going to be able to open it without ripping something. So I'm using the matte version of Mod Podge. And shake it up. Whoa. And then I can't open it on camera. Okay, we'll have to come back to open it. I've got to do some banging. Okay, so I was finally able to open up that jar of the matte Mod Podge. And I'm going to give this napkin a couple of coats. Well, for this, I think I might just give it one coat at this time. Then I'm going to sand off the edges. Now be careful when you're sanding because you don't want to dig into the paint. Okay, now I'm ready to start painting on the top of the lid. I chose one of these greens. And I'm going to paint the whole lid instead of just trying to paint half of it. It's just way easier than me trying to measure. Then I'm going to attach this little picture that I printed out, and I'm showing that I gave it several coats of that workable fixative so that the ink won't run. And here I'm just spraying it very lightly with some water, and then I'm going to apply my matte Mod Podge onto the top of this lid and then apply the picture to it. And I'm still going to be gentle with it because I don't want to get the front wet and make the ink run. So I'm going to use my plastic wrap, and that is going to help me smooth out any wrinkles. I have let this dry naturally, and there are no wrinkling there. There is no. I was going to say there are no wrinkles. And then change my sentence. Okay, so as I said, I am not going to overwork this because I do not want the ink on here to run, even though I did spray it. I've sprayed it up to 4 times sometimes with the workable fixative, and each time it will want to start to run, the ink that is. So I've learned just go ahead and get my coat of Mod Podge on it quickly without too many strokes, and kind of an even coat. So I got it all on there, wiping off some of the excess, get it up under here because there was a little bit of a gap. Yeah. Okay, make sure. I thought I saw a big old clump. There it is. Make sure you get the edges good. Now the reason why I put some Mod Podge on now is because I want to protect it from when I start putting the paint on with the stencil. I don't want the picture messed up at all. If I get paint on it, it'll easily be removed now that it's protected with the sealant. So here I am starting to put the stencil part on. I'm just using a regular sponge this time. You can use different types of daubers, stencil brushes. I was just trying to see if this cut up sponge would work, and it worked just fine. I didn't have a whole lot of paint on it so that it wouldn't leak up underneath the stencil, and that worked out fine. And then I got brave and decided to put that napkin on the inside of the box. Normally I would just paint it, or I would glue in some of the second layer of a napkin just to get some good texture. But that napkin was just so pretty, so I really wanted to use it. I didn't struggle too much. I didn't worry too much about getting wrinkles. I just did the best I could. And I went ahead and gave it all, some coats of the matte Mod Podge, because I like to do that between each step just to protect what I have done. And here I am painting the bottom of the box. I chose these 3 greens, and they're all kind of like vintagey greens. I really like them. And that kind of off-white color. I was going to go ahead and stencil it like I did the top, but then I remembered I have all these silicone molds and the air dry clay, and I really like, using the molds and getting the scrolls, the Baroque scrolls, flowers, whatever, and using them. So that's why I decided to paint it several colors. And here I'm just adding, several colors at a time. I'm adding the cream to break it up, and I just keep adding different colors until it's the way I like it. Here you see me adding some cornstarch into the mold. That just helps the air dry clay release better. You can use talcum powder. I've also used baby oil, depending on the weather. Right now it's summer here, so the cornstarch is working well, and the clay is releasing from the molds pretty easily. I'm using DOS air dry clay, and I'm just cutting off any excess pieces that I didn't remove from the mold. And I haven't used this mold yet, so that I didn't even know if it was going to match. I just tried not to overthink it, but I thought that would be cute for the side. That strip of flowers I'm going to use on the top. And then I'm going to use some separate ones and put it on the sides of the box. I didn't attach it to the box first like sometimes I would, because I wanted to paint them first. I have a hard time painting these little things and not getting paint on the box, and then I'll touch up the box and then I'll mess up the molds, and so it's like back and forth. So here I went ahead and painted it while it was on those 2 little pieces of, what is it? One's a tile and the other thing is just an acrylic thing. So this time I chose to use my art glitter glue again, just because it has a small nozzle and I know it won't put out a whole lot of glue that'll squish out the sides. You can use whatever glue you have. And because I went ahead and put varnish over the paint, I am able to lift up this one piece here and reposition it without damaging the paint. If I hadn't put that Mod Podge on, it would have lifted the paint and I would have had to repaint it. So that's one of the things that I've learned, is to just protect each layer as I'm working. That way it's less touch-ups for me. So So, oh, and here's the top. The original inspiration was a piece of lace, and it was colored, but like I said, once I remembered I had all these molds, I really wanted to use them. And plus, I can always, apply that gold highlight to all the points, the edges and everything. So that's what I went with. I'm going to put on a couple of coats of this Baroque gloss varnish. I'm not going to put it on the edge of the top of that box there because I don't want it sticking when it's closed. Like I said, for some reason gloss varnishes will stick like the Mod Podge. So I'm very careful not to get it on, the top edge. So once the varnish dry, here I'm having fun with my gold wax paste. I have to spray it with some water, otherwise it's really dry. And I'm able to go over all the high areas and edges and just adding the gold where I think it would look nice. And just having fun with it. And once it's dry, it's all going to be good to go. And normally I would have painted a lot more, but I guess I just wanted that green to show through. So once all that is dry, then I'm going to start applying the hardware, which are the hinges and the feet. I will use Uhu glue. You can use whatever glue you like. I try to stay away from the super glue because when I get it on my fingers, it's impossible to get off. And I put some rubber bands just to hold the top in place. So it's just easier that way for me. I put one, vertical and one horizontal. And, oh, you see my head there. You can see my roots are showing through. Can't see my blue hair. Somebody needs to touch up. Oh, my goodness. So I'm trying not to get the glue on my fingers because that Uhu glue is kind of like, super glue. And then I'll use this awl and I'll start a little hole. Don't want to go too heavy with the pressure because, it's just still cardboard. And here I'm having fun with these little screws, trying to screw them in. They're flying everywhere. Well, that's basically it, You punch a little hole. You could add glue to the screws so that they really hold inside, but the hinges really aren't going anywhere. And I do the same thing with this little claw foot. I attach it with glue and then I add this little screws to help hold it on. And here is the beautiful box. Da, 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 da. And I like the fact that it's small. It'll fit on my bookcase better. But I'm really happy with that napkin on the inside. It is so pretty. I'm glad I went ahead and took the time. It wasn't too bad of a struggle. So here are the glamour shots. So I hope that I have inspired you to try something new and to have fun. And thank you for watching. Bye-bye.